Planning your next post-COVID vacation? Be prepared with the help and expert advice of the Travel Guys.
Hi, I'm Mike and welcome to the Travel Guys. This is a half-hour show about travel, what's new, what's happening with the airlines, and today my guest is Kay Gregan, travel broker based in Whangamata. Welcome, Kay. Great to have you on the show.
Lovely to be here.
Kay will be talking to some of the products she's involved in and what's involved being a travel agent today after a very, very stressful time going right through 2020 and carrying on through 2021.
Absolutely.
Okay, Kay, look, just before we begin, tell us a little about your company, how you got started, and why Whangamata?
Okay, thanks, Mike. I'm originally from Hamilton, lived there all of my life, and I'd been holidaying at Whangamata, my parents' holiday home, and I'd gone away for a few days and went back and I thought, I'm not missing Hamilton. So that was the start, and that's where I am now. I've been there for 6 years. So it's a wonderful place to live, and being a travel broker, you know, I can move around, I can work from anywhere. So I've been travel brokering now for 12 plus years. You know, I was in retail. So I can work from anywhere, and what a great place to work.
Okay.
Do
you trade as Kay Gregan, or do you
I
have
trade as, well, I'm a TANS-bonded travel broker under the Travel Brokers, who's the travel broker division.
And for viewers, that means TANS is the Travel Agents Association of New Zealand, and by bonding, that means that you as a client are covered for a multitude of things that may go wrong. Kay can explain that when she deals with your clients, how important that bonding is.
Absolutely, definitely. And we have public liability insurance as well. So I'm in the middle kind of rebranding again now in terms of my company name is Kay Gregan, the Travel Designer Limited. Okay. So with COVID and things changing, my focus obviously is now on the domestic market because everything's quietened down. So, you know, with outbound travel, as we know. So it's been, I think, an opportunity in a positive way for us in the industry to look at ourselves and look at what we do and how we do it, and look at our branding and what are we selling, how do we sell it, how do we market ourselves. So I'm Kay Gregan, the travel designer.
Okay. And the range of services is?
I do all flights, international, domestic, you know, New Zealand flights, domestic, overseas, cruising, rental cars, accommodation, insurance. What have I missed, Mike?
That's about it.
That's about it. Cars.
Yeah.
Anything you want to travel. You want to get in a hot air balloon, I'll do it. If you want to do something really outrageous, I'll see if I can make it happen. Excellent. It's your trip, I'll make it happen.
Good one. Quick update on the airline news. Firstly, Etihad Airlines, which services New Zealand, very popular in New Zealand, they've announced that all of their air crew and all of their cabin crew are fully vaccinated, and I reckon that they're the first and only airline to make this announcement. But it's interesting, as opposing to that, the airlines of America have petitioned the government there to say they don't want this to happen because they don't think it's necessary because, quote, they feel that the incidences of infection on aircraft is not strong. I personally disagree with that. I think that would be one of the areas on a plane, that on the enclosed area of a plane would be really close. Mind you, interesting to note, I did realise and read an article which I think was hilarious, saying that in the days when people smoked on planes, which seems a total anachronism now, that apparently the air quality was better when you could smoke on planes because they had to have these massive extractors to cleanse the air. So ironically, the air was actually cleaner. Yeah. You can't believe it now, can you, Kate?
No, you can't believe it. And I'm thinking, what would the lungs be like? I think that would stop any chance of COVID getting in.
That's a good point. Air New Zealand have extended their flexibility policy, meaning clients holding an existing credit will have until 30 June 2022 to make a new booking and be able to travel up to 30 June 2023. How does that affect you, Kay? How does that you feel from a travel agent's perspective?
At this point, Mike, I think Air New Zealand, you know, being our only international carrier per se for New Zealand, I think they've done extremely well. Good. And I think for us in the industry, we understand that. Yeah. For the consumer, not so much when you're waiting for refunds, you're waiting for a credit to come through. We had an example of over 200,000 tickets just through Hello World within our company that were in the process of being refunded and credited back. So that's time consuming. That took months and months and months. And most of my clients were great. They understood that, keeping them informed. So I think, you know, if you're looking at international travel with other carriers overseas, you're not going to get those credits, you're not going to get those refunds. Yeah. Once that date's gone, it's gone. You're going to lose out. But it's been fluid. COVID, we never ever thought in the industry, let alone a nation, that this was going to happen. So how do we come through that? And that's also with other suppliers as well in the industry. You know, they've had to refocus. One day we get a fare roll, we get the news about a term and condition from the airline, and that changes 2 days later. So it's fluid. It just keeps going until we can arrive at a point that we come out the other side of it.
It's good to hear that, because Air New Zealand has got some pretty bad press recently with the refunding situation and
Indeed.
servicing the aircraft from Saudi, which I think is a bit bizarre. But anyhow, it's good to hear from a travel agent's perspective. You feel that they're on the right
Absolutely,
track.
and they're my preferred carrier because of the support that they give to me through our agency support. To my clients, they're a phone call away. I can call them anytime, and they just look after all of our businesses. When you're dealing with other airlines, it's not always that easy to get the answers that you need just at that point.
Yep, sure.
And so I always fly Air New Zealand where I can because it's my preferred carrier. And I'm not paid. I'm not getting any money back for this.
On the airline side, it's a sad day to see Virgin Australia closing their office in New Zealand. They've had a strong presence in New Zealand for many years.
They have.
And they say they're going to, quote, serve New Zealand from their Australian offices. I've seen this so many times over the years in travel. We don't need an office in New Zealand because we can serve New Zealand from Australia. Yeah. It doesn't work that way, and I think it's a sad day for the travel industry. Yeah.
But I think, Mike, if I can say that moving forward, as we come out the other side of this, things will come back in some way back to our shores where we will need that support.
Also, just briefly on the airline side of things, there's a new departure tax that's being planned as a way of combating climate change. But many are seeing this as a contentious thing right now. Of all the times to introduce it, no, not now. No. Give the industry time to draw its breath. Give things some semblance of normality before introducing something like that. I hope that doesn't happen just yet. It may be a great idea for the future, but not right now.
Not right now.
And speaking of right now, it is exciting to see vaccine rollouts. To see an article just in the paper this morning on Stuff saying that I can't remember the actual person's position in the states might have been Attorney General, saying that they feel that they'll have everybody vaccinated by mid-year and that the COVID will be on its way out to be defeated by mid-year. I think that's hopefully a greatly optimistic outcome, but it's nice to be hearing that anyhow.
Something positive.
It is, and something positive again. The talk of opening the bubble to the cooks comes reared again, and also Niue. I believe this talk's already underway to get Niue back on board. And yes, you know, I've got my heart in Niue.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a very special place for both of us. So it'll be very exciting to see both the cooks and Niue coming back on board. Again, hopefully before the start of the second quarter.
It's been very hard for them over there, extremely hard.
Yeah, it has been Fortunately, a place like Niue, and this sounds a bit simplistic, but because Niue's only got 1,500 people on the island, as opposed to 20,000 Niueans of Niuean descendants in Auckland, they can literally go back to growing taro and catching fish. And I said that sounds very simplistic, but it is a very simple society there. So they're not so wholly dependent on the tourism dollar as other states within the South Pacific are, more like Fiji.
Yes.
But let's cross fingers and hope that
Let's hope, definitely.
Okay, can you just give, firstly, a travel broker. It's a terminology we use all the time in the travel business. Can you explain what exactly is a travel broker as opposed to a travel agent?
Okay. I started in retail, so I did budget travel, holiday shop,
By that was street frontage.
Yes, that street front out there. And so then I looked at the concept of becoming a travel broker with my own business under a broker brand, Tansbonded. So I did that for 8 years with a travel broker company in New Zealand, and I've come full circle back to Hello World, which is the travel broker, so we're under that. And so I run my own business. I have my own clients which have followed me through the retail side. Everything that I do, I did sitting behind a desk in a store, and I do more because I'm flexible. 24/7, I can come to you in your home in the evening. I can meet you in your office. We can go down the road to a wine bar, have a coffee, and talk about your trip. Sure. And I can work from anywhere in the world. I can be on a cruise ship. Yep. I can be overseas. Nobody knows where I am because it's all there, my laptop, my phone. So the service is there 24/7.
And I think that's the future of travel business. Yes. I think that The latest figures I had around about 18 months, 2 years ago, there were approximately 400 street frontage travel agencies in New Zealand. That's down to 170 now.
Yeah, sadly.
And I think
Very
it's dropping.
sad times.
And I think but a lot of travel consultants who worked on a salary in those offices are turning to broking, which is what you
Yes,
do, and it makes so much sense. The overheads are
Absolutely.
virtually nil, and the client gets the benefit of the extra service.
Definitely. I love it. I couldn't go back to retail
No,
personally. I just love what I do. I love that freedom. And we're the one-stop shop. We do everything. Absolutely everything in travel. You know, I do the marketing, the publicity, all my accounting, which, you know, we did obviously in retail, but meeting your clients, the suppliers, I'm free. If I need to go to a meeting and meet a client, I can whip out and go.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. I
Now,
love it.
just get that dreaded C word again. A huge part of your work must have been trying to negotiate refunds for people over the last 12 months.
Yes.
I believe you had a particular nightmare situation trying to get monies back from South America.
Well, it was actually getting my clients back.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
clients,
Even
yes.
more difficult. Tell us about it, please.
Getting my clients back. They were over there and then COVID struck, and it was working out over 5 weeks with embassies here and over there to get them home.
5 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow.
To repatriate.
Where were they at that stage?
They were in Argentina,
Yeah.
and they were out staying on a farm, but it had to work because the borders were closed. So whilst there might have been a repatriation flight from Chile, they couldn't get across from Buenos Aires over there. The plane couldn't leave. There were no planes for a start to leave, and then of course if there was the issue. So we had the government working behind here to open things up, so it went on for weeks and weeks. So I was able to, you know, keep in touch with my clients through video, phone calls. Fortunately, they were on a farm and they were safe.
So they weren't like staying in a four-star hotel and chewing through all
No,
the
they
money.
had been doing that, but then of course it changed. And as soon as they arrived back into Buenos Aires, they were met at the airport with the police, with government, with health, and taken straight away into quarantine. But fortunately, because of their students there that they had been looking after here in New Zealand, they had connections all around South America. That was the reason for their trip, was to go and visit these families. So on the ground, they were very fortunate in that respect, that we were able to relocate to a farm where they were safe, but then we had to work with an airline to get them home, and they had to have paperwork done within 24 hours to say it was okay to go. It was pretty nail-biting.
The cost of the patron flights from Chile, was that how?
It was pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about $3,500 per person.
Yeah.
That was to come through Melbourne and then stay overnight in quarantine and then into Auckland for 2 weeks.
I suppose it has to be expensive because there's probably going to be a dead leg going back. There's not going to be that many.
And you know, and you look at South America, as we know, there's not many airlines, you know, to choose from. If you were in the United States, it might have been a bit different. And we'd looked at lots of options, but, you know, and I think we're hearing it now, why have people not come home, or last year so much, you know, not coming home? It's getting through countries and borders and transiting. And if you've been in Europe, there was no way you could fly back through the United States. Because that was it. If you've been in those high COVID risk countries, it was a no-no. So there were all those things that you had to tick off, and it was changing, Mike, as you know, every day. Every day, something else can't come through there. That airline's not flying. You go, what do we do? How do we get them home?
Tell me a really important fact. Okay, how much did travel insurance play its part? Were some companies better? Were some less?
In that instance, now we're seeing some changes with some of the insurance companies, but for a pandemic like that, there's an out clause. So, you know,
so people were
having to pay, well, with my clients, you know, had to pay to come home.
Yeah, because I'm going to try and get one of the travel companies on the show next week or so to just cover. I think it's such a terribly important point. I mean, the one thing, even if we take COVID out of the picture right now, to me, the most crucial thing on a travel insurance policy is pre-existing conditions.
Yes, absolutely.
People have just so got to watch that, because an insurance company will go through, and if something happens in the States, and it's going to cost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, if there is a pre-existing condition, and they can get out of it, they will. And I've heard of horror stories about people being caught out like that just by not reading the policy correctly. It's not done intentionally.
No.
But they forget about that, whatever small
And that's where we remind them, you know, I don't like to say maybe because of the age of heart, and they go, 20 years ago, but I'm okay. I go, pre-existing.
Exactly.
You know, so you have to be transparent, totally transparent. You don't want to get caught.
Yeah, anyhow.
goat.
So just, okay, a more positive note.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, you're not sending people all over the world, but you are doing some domestic travel. I believe you've
Yes,
got a
I
few
am.
tours lined up.
I have, Mike.
Tell
I
us
have.
about your ones.
Okay, so at the moment, well, I'm heading off in April with the wine club up to Matakana. They approached me to do a trip with them up there based on an arts tour that I'm doing as well. So they want to be more in the wine.
Arts tour, where are you going?
Arts tour, the original one's Matakana, and they saw that and they said, could we do that tour, take the art out, let's do more vineyards. So that's that one.
Combine both, surely.
Absolutely. Two different groups, absolutely. So I do have a lot of things that I'm working on. One of the big ones that I am working on now is to the Hawke's Bay, and that's with Tina Cross. So last year we went to the Barossa in Harndorf and took a ladies group.
Oh, cool.
And the
Why
name
Tina,
of the
just
tour-
out of interest? Because she's just
Tina,
got a great
I
personality.
was introduced to, well, Tina's an absolutely wonderful girl, wonderful person, great personality, as we all know, great entertainer, lovely woman. And so I was introduced to her through Sean Fay in Whangamata, which is where I live, and he was into media, broadcasting, radio and advertising, and just happened to introduce me to Tina. She'd been there as a guest artist at his Wild Women's Weekends that he runs. Wild Women's Weekends. So it's, music, food, activities, get together, great. So he said to me, look, I'll introduce you to Tina Cross. So Tina and I met, I was due to fly out to the United States the following morning, and we talked for 2.5 odd hours at a cafe, and Tina looks to the guy behind the counter and she said, I think it's closed. And I said, how long have we been here? And we just talked and hit it off. So we did this tour across to the Barossa. There was 20 of us that went across, including Tina and I. And we had a fantastic trip, absolutely wonderful. Tina performed for our ladies for an hour and a half after a degustation dinner.
Just for the ladies?
Just for the ladies.
Lovely.
And interesting, a lot of the ladies said, who else is coming tonight? I said, no one.
Nice.
So we're working around an event with the Food and Wine Classic in November down in Hawke's Bay, and I've just actually come back from there doing my recce trip like I did for our other tour, Wine, Woman and Song. So we're going to cliche this and go Wine, Woman and Song too.
Yeah.
And our lead-in really is Nothing But Dreams, and that's a song that Tina sung at the Pacific Song Contest that Carl Doy wrote.
Right.
And that was 41, 42 years ago.
No, surely she can't be that old, can she? No.
Well, doesn't look it. She's
No,
great,
no.
great. And so Carl said, yes, by all means. So it's Nothing But Dreams on tour, Wine, Woman and Song
And when
too.
are you heading off?
We're heading off around about the 9th of November, putting all the final details to it to coincide with the festival down there. It's a niche product, it's bespoke, and I put it all together. So it's like picking up all those little gems and bringing them into
will you be travelling around the Hawke's Bay, or will you base yourself?
We'll be based in Havelock North,
Okay.
where there's a lot of the lovely vineyards, staying at a gorgeous property there.
What's it called?
It's called Porter's
I've heard of
Boutique
it.
Hotel.
I've heard of it.
Absolutely. I've
Yeah.
met with the manager. I've met with a lot of the people down there that I'm looking to work with, and Hamish Prince from Princey Tours is my go-to man. What he doesn't know is not worth knowing.
Okay.
So it's about networking, Mike, as you know. You're the supplier, I sell the retail. It's about networking and establishing those relationships that can build on the tours that I
So
do.
will the tour depart from Auckland, or it
The
starts?
tour will depart from Auckland, and quite happy if anybody wants to meet us.
in Havelock.
Absolutely. Our last trip we had a raft of ladies come from Christchurch. We had Palmerston North, Taupo, Waikato. We had 2 ladies meet us in Australia from the Gold Coast, Melbourne.
Yep.
Came across to Adelaide. So I've got other tours in the planning, like a steampunk tour.
Steampunk. Can you tell us about it? Come on.
Steampunk. Well,
I love
steampunk, if
steampunk.
you've seen steampunk.
I
So
have, I know.
I've got a friend who's into steampunk, and I went to an event with her and did some
In
photography.
case any of the viewers aren't sure, just give us a brief snapshot of steampunk.
Steampunk. How do you explain
It's
it?
very
I
hard to.
think
That's
a
what
bit
I'm
of
getting you to
Mad
do it,
Max,
not me.
Mad Max with Mel Gibson. That Victorian look, but then they have the hats with the little goggles and
Exactly.
all the chains, and
And
it's
it's
pretty
semi-future
clever.
and semi-past.
It is.
It's a mash-up
It
of the
is.
two.
And a lot of
But it's a
work
whole
goes
genre. It's
into what they
extraordinary.
wear.
Yeah.
And it's really big in New Zealand.
Yeah, I know.
So I've got a tour I'm going to put together next year, and we'll just get invited and extend everybody around New Zealand to come on that tour. So Rebecca Nelson, who is a recording artist, mezzo classical crossover singer, She is also an able musician with the Royal Navy, and you may have seen Rebecca at Anzac in Gallipoli with Passchendaele.
I have.
Yes,
I
so
have.
you know the voice.
I do.
The last big performance was, I think, 48,000 people in Twickenham with the All Blacks. That was Rebecca singing
right.
our anthem.
Yeah.
So Rebecca and I are basing this trip to support Te Kiwi Maya, which is a trust that has been set up with Rebecca and other people for the first responders in New Zealand, based around an awareness of post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's really interesting.
So
The trust is to support these people.
To support these people, to set up a place where they can go to talk to people. They have time out. Rebecca recorded an album called Reverence, did all the soundtracks with the Welsh Guards in the UK about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Came back and did all the vocals with the Manukau County's Police Choir. Moses Mackay from Solo Mio was on the album with her, Imagine. I'll get you a copy.
Please do.
Yes, and so some proceeds from that album go towards Te Kiwi Maya. So it's raising that awareness. Our first responders do, it's the anniversary today of Christchurch, and who was there on the ground? Our first responders.
Yeah.
So that's one of the tours. I'm looking at doing a race Rickerton with Heather Eagleton, it's in the bag.
Of course.
First Lady with
I thought I knew
Selwyn
the name.
Toogood.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
talked about that.
Cool.
So, and I think with having COVID sitting still around us, we can't get any great, we like to give a good 12, 18 months out and prep for these
Yes.
trips as we do overseas long haul, but people are still wary, and
Yep.
I'm certainly mindful of that. So if it means that I have to pivot and push it out a bit further,
So be
then
it.
that has to be what it is. And you've got to work with this, you've got to make it your friend really and work with it to come out the other side, which
Now,
I plan to be doing.
I know you've got a passion for country music too. Have you got anything going on that?
Jodie Vaughan, yes, I work with Jodie. We've done a quick trip away, and I'm supporting Jodie actually on another vehicle there with DC Rescue Dogs for an event
It's not
in
travel, but
Hamilton.
tell us about that.
So Jodie is wanting to fundraise for DC Rescue. It's a charitable event to raise funds around dog rescue.
Yeah.
So we're doing that, and it's called Country Meets Cabaret with Barbie Davison. So that's the 31st of July in Hamilton. So I'm just supporting with the marketing and the publicity. Cool. But Jodie and I will be doing other tours with the country music scene.
She's a bit of a live wire, isn't she?
Great lady as well.
And Brendan Dugan's still going around.
Brendan's still going, and Gray Bartlett.
I always felt he's one of the great country voices.
Yes, yeah.
And
Great musicians.
Yeah.
Timeless.
Timeless. Yeah.
Tina's, just got to plug this, Tina's in Wicked, September, October, up here in Auckland.
Okay.
So we're working on a group to come up and support that Broadway show.
Talk to us, how do people get in touch with you?
Okay, so I'm in Whangamata, and you can contact me on my mobile phone or my landline, so I can give that to you.
Yep.
So it's 07
Yep.
865
865.
95
Sorry, 865 and then
95
95
68.
68. Okay.
And mobile
Yep.
027
27
337
337
6222.
6222. Well, I hope you get some information. And I guess too, what I should stress to viewers is that people like UK, if a viewer's got an idea of a tour, and it might be
Absolutely.
just bubbling around the back of their
Definitely
mind, and
come
they don't
to
know
me.
how to go about it, but they think it could be 3 or 4 or 5 friends think that'd be a good idea.
Yes.
Who's going to organise it? Everyone points
Yes.
at everybody else.
That's right.
It's where they can bring someone like
Definitely.
you who can say, yes, it's a great idea, or
Yes.
no, look, it's a good idea, but it won't work for this reason.
Absolutely.
But if it's going to work, you can climb in and help them with that.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely
That's good.
appreciate that.
I think I can't stress enough, personally, to viewers that the day of the travel agent, there was talk a few years ago, it was the day of the travel agent, it was gone. Nobody needs travel agents. You can all book online. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be this. It hasn't happened. And I think one thing that really brought that home to people was, of all things, when those Iceland eruptions back, it must be 8 years ago now, Kate?
Yes.
The number of people who were stranded in Europe.
Totally.
And if you book through an online travel agent, through Booking.com or Expedia or direct by the online, you've got to contact that hotel, you've got to contact that travel agent, that
Absolutely.
airline to get everything done. If you'd book through a travel agent, there's, Kate, I'm stuck here for 2 days,
Yes,
can
what
you
can
sort
you
it for
do?
me?
Yes.
And I bet who did a few of those.
And I think the other point is too, Mike, it's keeping the business here in New Zealand. Like, we have all our suppliers, but when you often book with these these search engines and you go online, the business is going out of New Zealand. We want to retain that here. And other than that first point of contact, let me deal with it, and I'll come back to you with hopefully a positive outcome that will work for both of us.
I think it's more and more
absolutely
what's happened. Excuse me, with COVID.
Definitely, you've got one person to speak to.
Yeah.
I talk to all the suppliers.
Exactly. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and Kay, thanks so much for coming along.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been great having you on board.
Appreciated.
And just a reminder again, what's that phone number again for that mobile?
It's Whangamata, one of the best beaches in New Zealand, and it's 07 865 9568.
Great.
My mobile 027 337 622.
Excellent. Thanks again, Kay.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, Mike. Thank you.